Welcome to the Lech Dich Parsha podcast, where we delve into the Torah's timeless wisdom and uncover uplifting and empowering lessons tailored to the challenges of our generation.
A good dinner, Shabbos, Parshas Vayakel, Pekudai, Tavshin Pevav. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a wonderful week. This week's shiur is sponsored by Nissan Al-Katei and family of Manchester, New Jersey. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, the Hassan Zaltz Law Firm, T7 Capital, and Bluestone Brokerage. For future dedications, to sponsor the Lech Dich Weekly Parsha Publication Podcast Daily Mussar Shiur, the Lech Dich Drops, the Lech Dich Footsteps of Greatness, all on Torah anytime, please be sure to reach out to 845-367-2959. I hope you enjoyed the Likutei Lech Dich on Purim. The Pesach edition is on its way. If you would like to sponsor, partial, full dedications and sponsorships are available. Please reach out. I look forward to speaking to you. I hope you enjoy this week's shiur.
Thank you everybody for coming to the unbelievable Chavurah. This week is Parshas Vayakel Pekudai as well as Parshas HaChodesh. And as every Parsha, there's always a lot to unpack. This week is particularly relevant and Yisodistic as it's ending the winter, it's ending the Tkufas, Chayrif, Chanukah, Purim, Tu B'Shvat. It's all the growth. And then we jump into really the next Tkufa, which is Pesach, Omer, whole different avodah. And avodah really starts this week. The avodah starts with realizing that there's a hischachus, realizing that there's opportunity, realizing that change is always a very important function to tap into, and especially as we start Parshas HaChodesh, Davar Be'itay Ma Toiv, Parshas HaChodesh. So I want to share with you an incredible vart. There's a famous Or HaChaim in the Parsha. The Or HaChaim. You look in Parshas Vayakel. Perek Lamed Vav, Pasuk Vav and Zayin. Mamish talked away in the long psukim about all the dimensions and the calculations of the Klei Mishkan. Perek Lamed Vav, Pasuk Vav. Hashem is talking to Moshe, and Vayitzav Moshe v'avir kol b'machane. There was a call. There was a voice in the machane. Lemar ish v'isha yasu oidim lachal tumas hakodesh v'akala amevi. Moshe was commanded, and Hashem said, "Men and women shall not do any more work towards the gift of the Mishkan." And the people were restrained from bringing all the malacha. There was a halt, emergency stop button. Says the next pasuk Zayin v'hamalacha ha'isa dayam l'chol malacha lasis oisa v'haiser, which means in English, but the work had been enough for all of the work to do it, and there was extra. Let's read those words again. The work had been enough for all the work, meaning there was enough work, everyone's efforts and everyone's collective investment, it was enough, and there was extra. In English, that makes absolutely no sense. It's not grammatically correct, it doesn't flow, it's a steer in fact. If something's enough, then there's no extra. And if something's extra, then it's not enough. So it's a stir minei ubei. As a fact, the Or HaChaim, right on the pasuk. Fact the Or HaChaim. Dayum v'hoiser. There was enough and then there was extra. Heim beis dvarim hafchim. These are two opposing elements. Im dayum in a hoiser. If it was enough, then there's no extra. Vim hoiser in a dayum. And if there was extra, then it wasn't enough. It wasn't just. V'kani makom lemer loizu avzu. Okay, so this is the Or HaChaim. It's a pretty famous kasha. It's brought down. A lot of people grapple with this very important fundamental kasha. Everything in the Torah is glatt. Everything in the Torah is halak. It's straight. It's kosher. It's understood. So how could it be that literally in one pasuk, dayim v'hoiser is a stira minei ubei? It makes absolutely no sense. So he goes back and forth and he gives an answer. He says a big yisoid. Zakt Or HaChaim. V'ulai, perhaps, shashme'enu akasav. What's the Torah coming to teach us? That it was enough, but there was extra. Chibas b'nei Yisrael be'enei ha'makim. The absolute the ceaseless love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu beholds for every single Yid. We can open up a Musa Sefer these days and we can talk about Havas Yisrael, we can open up Sefer Breslev, and we can. There's nothing more beautiful when you open up Or HaChaim and he's talking directly to us. Chibas b'nei Yisrael b'nei Amakim. The Torah is communicating Hashem's love for each and every one of us. Ki l'tzad sheviu Yisrael Yosef Misher Tzarech. Chosh Hashem l'chvoid kol isha tarchu v'hevi v'nichnas kol amuv v'beis Hashem b'mlechas ha'mishkan. Says the Or HaChaim, Hashem anticipated, Hashem was worried. You have one gvir and you have one poor guy. And what's going to happen is that the gvir, he's going to bring extra stuff, and the poor guy, he's going to feel that his avodah was insufficient. He's going to feel that his avodah, that what he brought, was inadequate. It didn't really make a difference. V'zeh shiur ha'kosav ha'malacha asher tziva Hashem la'aseh b'mishkan hispika likanis b'deicha kol malacha ashos b'nei Yisrael hagam shahoyser pi shahoyser metzarech shehispek ha'makabel yoser mishur al yedei nes. Says the Or HaChaim, Hashem realized that there might be some friction, that some people are going to bring extra and some people are going to bring just the bare minimum, and therefore the Torah went out of its way, and bavarn this, Hashem went out of his way to communicate that there's no such thing as when you're doing your best, when you're bringing what you can, when you're using the tools, the koiches, the capability, the talents, the kishrun, whatever it is, the tools that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, in our arsenal, not in the enemies, not in our neighbor, not in our friend, a cousin, a brother, the better guy in the chabura, a different guy running a different business, whatever, all those things packed in this Or HaChaim is telling us that was dayom v'hoiser. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course, is happy, Hashem is satisfied, he's very excited when a person goes lifnim shosadin, when a person brings more than he can, when he stretches himself thin to exalt, to be Marbe Kavod Shemaim, to bring Hashem beauty in the greatest way possible. But for the guy who is only able to bring exactly the basic mandate, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you're equated, you're exactly the same as the guy who brought more. So it's not a steer, says the Or HaChaim. Dayom v'hoiser. I equate, everything is equal. The guy who brought just exact the bare minimum, but that's all he could bring, and the guy who brought v'hoiser, to me, it's all the same. That's what the Or HaChaim is telling us, that there's no steer in the Torah. The dayim, the hoiser, the guy who brought more, the guy who brought less, as long as you're doing what you can, that's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, which is what the Gemara in Brachos, I believe it's Daf Tes Vav, tells us. The Gemara says, Echad marbe ve'echad mamit, hakol sheichav libe l'shem shamayim, and that's this yisoid over here. The Mishra Shlemen, Reb Chaim Kaufman, who I love to read his Torah, he says it very beautifully. Val derech avodah efshar lana lilmad mizeh chizik gadol va'atzim. We can learn a tremendous fundamental yisoid and chizik for all of us. Shetzarach kol ish mibnei Yisrael adas. Shekol me'ametz shu mis'ametz b'kiyum Torah. Any extra exertion that we expend, that we take out of ourselves for the Eibishter, v'chol yigia, and all of the toil, first Seder, second Seder, night Seder, time between work, listening to Shir Chapping Orain, hakol oile l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, miskabel l'nachas ruach lefanav. A lot of times you can think, what does it mean already? There's famous stories about a person who was a ben yeshiva, and then he, slowly dwindled out, and then he ended up doing nothing. And the Rosh, I forgot which Rosh Yeshiva, he came to this younger man, and he said, well, what's with you? You're a stark guy, the best guy in the shiur, top in the chabura, and now you're barely learning. And he said back to the Rosh Yeshiva, he said, I can't learn on the level I was doing back in the day, learning sigyas, rishonim, achronim, ktzotzes, baruch beres. He said, I can't do it. So he said, it's going to help me to do a little Mishnah. And that was his biggest mistake. And the Rosh Yeshiva said, if you can learn a Mishnah, learn a Mishnah. You can learn a few minutes of Gemara, learn a few minutes of Gemara. What does it mean? What does it count for? Hakol oilef HaKadosh Baruch Hu miskabel l'nachas ruach lefanav. It's all accepted. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is dancing over every, nothing is small. V'afilu b'makom she'eino royeh eich sh'avaydasei asasa pri. Sometimes we invest and we learn, we expend, we allocate time, efforts, and we don't feel particularly elevated or changed from those efforts. And we say, where's the peiros? Where's the growth? Where are the fruits of our labor? It seems as if our efforts All that we've tried is in vain. It's for nothing. And there's no te'elis. Zakter lo tala al daitoi machsheves pigol lo mershavayde misaris lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Don't think for 1 second. It's complete, pure atzas hayetzer. Elo yoda. Rather know, shakadosh Baruch Hu choishesh lechvoid kol pisas yigia v'lechol kurtov shal me'amitz v'akol miskabel lefanav v'nachas ruach. Says the Mishcha Shemen that what the Or HaChaim and what the Torah is coming to communicate to us is every little thing, every bit that we can move, that we can change, it's all part of the picture. It all brings Hashem nachas ruach. It all brings Hashem hamlacha, and ultimately v'akol miskabel lefanav nachas ruach. As David HaMelech in Tehillim says, Kirvas hadakim litoiv, my mission, my tafkid, my purpose in this world is to make HaKadosh Baruch Hu happy. And when we realize, when we tap into this emes over here, that whatever I'm doing, whether it's a lot, whether it's a little, I don't care about what my friend is doing, my neighbor, my chavrusa, the other guy, it doesn't make a difference. I'm doing the best I can do. I have to feel fulfilled. I have to feel excited and satisfied that this is what I'm able to do, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is reaping tremendous nachas ruach from me. What does this have to do with Parshas HaChodesh? What does it have to do with the upcoming Yontif of Pesach? The answer is Pasha. The answer is that a lot of times we can feel, I feel, and I'm sure others feel the same. It's called the pitfall of hergel, which means we get into routine. This is the way life is. We can't change. We get stuck. We get shackled up, and it's very hard. And we always look back at our past and we say, well, I did this in the past, so I can't really change it in the future. I used to have this Kabbalah and I was really good at it, and then it just kind of faded. Now I don't do it anymore. But the side of Parshas HaChodesh, the side of Pesach, which already has hashpois that are brought down now, is the inyan of eschachos. It's that whatever the past was, stays in the past. It doesn't determine, it doesn't shape my present, my hoive or yeh, amashahu. We always are, as Yidden, we are always moving upwards, forwards. And as we approach Parshas HaChodesh, HaChodesh is Alachem, is Chadash. Chadash is the time of renewal. And we can do anything. We are invincible. We have koyach from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to attain, to achieve things that we never thought we can. Because with tefillah, with siyata d'shmaya, anything can happen. Just to wrap it up, someone reminded me of an incredible story that happened. This goes back to the late 1700s. And one of the most terrifying diseases in the world was smallpox. Anyone who contracted smallpox, it killed about 30% of those people. It was a tremendous amount of the population, and anyone who was able to survive it, who didn't die, they were usually blinded, crippled, or handicapped in other ways. And as this terrible, terrible sickness, this disease swept through these little villages, these towns, it was complete, utter fear, panic. They thought that everyone was just going to die. So how did it end? Why don't we deal with smallpox today? So the answer is that there was a doctor, a country doctor in England by the name of Edward Jenner. And he noticed something very interesting. He had an observation. He noticed that when he was treating patients, milkmaids, people that dealt with cows, that extracted the milk, they already contracted a different disease, like a similar variant of smallpox. It was called cowpox, which was a milk disease from cows. And the interesting observation he had was that anyone who contracted milkpox, cowpox, never contracted smallpox. So at the time he had this idea. He said, I'm going to take the cowpox, I'm going to concentrate it and inject it, and I'm going to see what happens. And if it works, unbelievable. In 1796, he endeavored on this very risky experiment. He was able to extract the disease of cowpox, and he took this cowpox in some type of syringe, and he popped it into the arm of a young boy named James Phillip. This boy became sick. He became ill with the cowpox, and relatively quick he was able to recover. And later, this boy was exposed to smallpox, and the boy didn't even get sick. And you know what happened from there? This Dr. Jenner had discovered revolutionary, the world's first vaccine. The word vaccine, you know what it means? Vaca in Latin means a cow. And the vaccine came from this doctor because of his revelation, his revolutionary, the risk that he took from the cow, and he developed the first vaccine. And even though many mocked him, many made fun of him and said, you're a sicko and you're going to kill people, but he was resilient, he was strong, and ultimately he saved the world until today. What does that have to do with us? So first of all, it has to do with the matzav in the world. A lot of times we think we're stuck, we feel there are no answers, especially with Israel and Iran, but we can never underestimate from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, and certainly from a ruchnistic standpoint, the koyach of one singular person, a singular idea, when he's met with chastisement, everyone's making fun of him, mockery. But it applies to Yidden. It applies to Parshas HaChodesh, to Pesach as well. As we're at the cusp of Shabbos Mevarchim, of Parshas HaChodesh, of Pesach, it reminds us that we cannot underestimate the koyach of one. And while we look back, and it's been 6 months since Elul, and we say we did this and we did that avera, and we need a chizik over here, and it's just too much. At this point in time, we are reminded that now is the time ruchnius to vaccinate ourselves. And while the world can be busy with all the shtusim and narishkeit, but we as Yidden, ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim, that we are mekabli Torah, that we live with the Torah, realize that we're elevated, asher baruch haba mikol ha'amim. We have a tremendous opportunity. Maybe we're not going to save the entire Israel, and we're not going to resolve the war with Iran, but at least for ourselves, for the inner wars that we all encounter. Instead of succumbing and feeling shackled to the past and to the loss, we can vaccinate ourselves with his chadshus and realize that one small shift, one small change can truly change everything. And that's the beauty, that's the greatness, that's the revelation, the unbelievable power of his chadshus that we're about to see. And we tap into that. We can change ourselves. We can change the wars we fight inside. Maybe we can change the war with Israel and Iran. But the point is, his chadshus, making ourselves better, improving ourselves, and bringing Hashem more nachas ruach, and making the best for ourselves. As we read this week's parsha, we remind ourselves, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that it was dayam v'hoiser, it was enough and there was more. It's not a stira. Reminds us that the people who bought just what they can and the people who bought extra, but the Eibush is all the same. As long as there's mechav liba l'shem shamayim, doing our best, that brings hakol miskabel lefanav. Everything is accepted and cherished by the Eibushter, and when we do that, we should bring Hashem nachas ruach. And with that, in turn, Hashem should give us the long-awaited geula, the redemption, the arrival of Mashiach Tzedkeinu b'mehir v'aminu. Amen.
I thank each and every one of you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you a wonderful Shabbos.